Hey there. This is another Fiverr video, and if you have no idea what Fiverr is or what it does, like be a brief synopsis here, you essentially hop onto the site and hire folks for different services. You can pretty much name whatever you want. I'm sure that service is being offered on Fiverr if you want to hire them for artwork for a YouTube channel. You want to hire people to, I don't know, proof your homework. Like there's so many different services being offered on the site, and one of them happens to be PC parts list building. Now what this means is that the parts recommended should in theory work together, and that's essentially what we're hiring someone to do for us. You'll find that if you build a PC for the first time, one of the first hurdles that you have to overcome is determining which parts are compatible with which other parts you need in a build. For example, motherboard, CPU, do I need DDR3 or DDR4 or even DDR5 in this case? Does it really matter whether I go with an AMD graphics card or an NVIDIA graphics card? Right, these are the services that you're paying someone else to handle for you, so it just kind of takes the load off. Obviously, there are plenty of other outlets out there, including, say, the PCMR subreddit. You're going to get free advice over there. Usually, you just ask a genuine question, and there are a lot of good folks that'll help you out. But if you have nowhere else to turn, I mean, Fiverr is a decent alternative, and it's $5. You know, I'm not going to sweat that. So we're going to see what these folks came up with in a $500 build budget. Put me together a PC parts list for $500. Let's see it happen. You can even recommend eBay listings if you want to squeeze as much as you can out of that $500 budget. That's something that I told all three of these individuals, and I haven't seen any of the lists they've given me yet. They're all right here, but I haven't opened them because I want it to be fresh for not only myself, but also all of you. And I also encourage you to leave your own feedback in the comment section about what you think about each of these listings in this budget as well. Are you ready? Stay with me. To get rid of that annoying Windows activation watermark, head on over to VIP SCD Key and purchase a Windows 10 Pro OEM key for a fraction of the price of retail. Just use a secure payment method like PayPal, enter your product key into your PC settings window, and say bye-bye to the watermark. And be sure to use our offer code SKGS for a sweet discount. Alrighty then, we're going to jump straight into the first listing here. This is from an individual named Verona, I think. Verona, I'm pretty sure. Right, so you can see I spent $7.28 on this order, and these were all $5 listings. Some folks were offering the exact same service for $10, and I think that's just ridiculous. Again, a lot of folks are going to have problems even paying $5 for essentially advice. But I think $10 is just pushing it way too far. So any $10 listing I ignored. Hers was $5, and then of course Fiverr tax in their fee, and then you've got taxes and whatever. So let's see what her requirements were. These are the questions that you'll get right after you place your order. She asked what our maximum budget was for the PC. Again, that's a very good question, of course. I said $500, not including shipping or tax. This was a question someone else asked, so I was sure to distinguish here. The second question was, what is your primary objective with your PC build? This is a good question. I said gaming. And then her third question was, what do you want within your budget? And she had a list of different things here. If I wanted just the tower, or maybe the tower plus a monitor plus a keyboard and mouse, etc. I just said I want the full PC build, nothing else. You can see I also clarified down here that she was more than welcome to include eBay listings if she was open to it. I'm just trying to get as much value as I can out of the $500 budget, and if eBay seems reasonable to her, then she could recommend any part there, just to obviously link whatever listing it is, and I'll do my best to jump on it as quickly as possible. She said, thank you, I will get that done, and then I believe the next morning, she sent the list. So this doesn't appear to be a PC part picker list, which is a bit disappointing, but it just might not be popular where she lives. Intel Core i3 10105F, it's pretty much a bare bones Core i3 10th gen processor for $124. She's got that on eBay. We've got, you know what, I think she, maybe she misunderstood me and thought I meant only eBay, but yeah, everything here is linked to eBay. Anyway, we'll roll with it. We got a Gigabyte B560 motherboard for $115. By the way, I did double check, B560 is compatible with 10th gen Intel. I have to remind myself because Intel's a little more dicey than AMD is currently. We have, what else do we have here? We have Corsair Vengeance LPX DDR4, only a single 4 gig stick. What is this? Oh no, 2. Okay, times 2, so 32. So she's recommending 8 gigs of DDR4. Pretty slow speed. This is pretty much bare bones, but it's, you know, it's something. I mean, look, you're going to see a small performance loss with only 8 gigs of DDR4 in most modern games. I wouldn't say it's substantial, and it might or might not be justified in a $500 budget. I haven't really done too much research in this price range lately because it's so difficult to squeeze anything into this. So that's why we're paying other folks to make these decisions for us. We'll see if the other two listings included 8 or 16 gigs of DDR4, or maybe even DDR3 if they went that old school. Western Digital 1 terabyte, 7200 RPM hard disk drive, $44. That's pretty much a brand new price there, but I wouldn't recommend buying a used hard drive anyway. I have no idea what would be on it. We also have a 120 gig SSD. Okay, it's interesting that we're basically spending 1/5 of the entire budget on storage when we probably just could have gone with like a 240 gig or a 480 gig, SSD. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. GTX 550 Ti. Oof. Yeah, this is the big kicker here. So this hurts just a tad. $65. I mean, it's affordable, but a 550 Ti is literally, I mean, you're going to be able to play The Sims with that. Like that's probably about it. Okay, I'm kind of over exaggerating there, but it is a very stripped down card by today's standards. And I mean, don't expect to do too much with this, especially in, pretty standard resolutions like 1080p. I wouldn't recommend 1440p at all. I don't even know if this card supports 1440p resolution, but it's going to be cutting it awfully close in anything 720p or higher. So just keep that in mind. Or a GTX 750 Ti. So this is going to be a lot better than the 550 Ti. It's kind of interesting. You should link both of those there. This one's $100, and then we have, wow, look at this. She found a $22 Thermaltake power supply on eBay, a 350 watt unit. Holy cow! I'm kind of curious what this looks like. Yeah, it's about what I thought. I mean, it works. I mean, for a budget build, it's something. And I can't really fault her there for this. Next, we've got a Corsair Carbide Series Spec 5. This is a $30 chassis. Let's see what this looks like. I think I've built with this before. Oh, no, I haven't. All right, it's bare bones, but it works. And it does obviously support, there you can see, it supports full-size cards. So that's cool. And yeah, I mean, you're working with something that's used, right? But in this budget, I can't really complain. And lastly, she chose a Thermaltake UX100 high airflow CPU cooler in place of a stock cooler. And you can see it's listed here for $15. That is a pretty sweet price for an aftermarket cooler. I mean, it's not going to be anything, awesome. Like it's still pretty stripped down, but it does have RGB, so that's cool. That's a plus for a lot of folks. And $15, I mean, that's really just a tiny little dent in our budget overall, so pretty sweet. Now let's see, we do have a few notes at the bottom. If you buy both SSD and hard disk drive, then choose first graphics card. Oh, okay, this makes sense now. If you buy only the SSD or the hard disk drive, then choose the second graphics card. Both are 2 gigs, but the second one is way better, which is true. So she knows her stuff. She knows what she's recommending. She's not just throwing stuff out there and kind of just, oh, I hope this stuff is good. She has a pretty good idea, it seems, of the power packed into these components. So I think that makes a lot of sense. I haven't actually tallied up the prices yet. Wow, she came in under budget, $489.54. This is pretty impressive. I mean, obviously this would have gone a lot further in a market 2 years ago, right? $500 was a pretty sweet starter rig. And this still is, Core i3, a couple generations old, but these newer Core i3s aren't actually that terrible. And then, you've got a compatible motherboard, 8 gigs of RAM, and a GTX 750 Ti for $100. Let's see, I want to double check the price here. I'm sure this one already sold. It says, yeah, 120 or best offer. And of course, I told her not to include shipping. So, when you include shipping and taxes for a few other things, I'm sure it's going to come out to around $510, which is perfectly acceptable. I expected that. I think this is a pretty good start, folks. So I want you to keep those parts in the back of your mind because we're going to move on to listing number 2. And remember, I told all 3 of these folks the exact same thing. So I said you can use eBay. And if they asked more questions, then I tried to just keep it very specific about just wanting a tower. I'm not really, I don't care about RGB. I don't care about having tons of fans or anything like that. Just give me the best value, the best performance for my dollar. And we have the second listing here. This is from someone named C. Belotti. So here's the listing again, $7.28. I placed my order on the exact same day. All 3 of these were in the exact same day. So they were all picking from the same parts on eBay, assuming that's what they used. He said, hey, thank you for your order. First of all, I'm sorry if I comment. I think that's what he meant. Some error in English. Just give me the time to come back home, and I'll create a valid option for your budget. I said, no problem, thanks. A lot of these folks, if English isn't their first language, you just kind of have to get around that barrier. But this is legible enough. Obviously, we know what he or she is saying. I'm not sure if this is a guy or a girl. All right, so we have down here at the bottom, hi, I hope this configuration is okay for you. I think it is balanced considering the hardware, and you can play in full HD without any problem. Obviously, you don't have an RTX 3060, so maybe you need some tuning in terms of setting to have the best performance and FPS in game, but it's a good configuration, I think, consider your budget. If you need some extra help to build or simple to make some question about the component and possibility to upgrade, just write me on WhatsApp. Only consideration for the build, if you need extra space, consider the $20 more. For $20 more, you can get a 500 gig SSD. Good night. Okay, so let's dive in, shall we? And okay, this is nice. I like it. All right, so we're gonna start off here with a Gigabyte GTX 1650 OC. This is used on eBay for apparently 173 bucks. Let's check it out. All right, and yep, good start, listed for 219. I'm assuming this is Canadian dollars. I'm not sure if that's CAD or something else, but that's approximately 175 US. And you can see it's perfect working condition, no visible signs of wear or damage. Next up is the CPU, and this is the Core i3-10100F, very similar to the 10105 recommended by the previous listing. However, this one is considerably cheaper. I verified the link. It actually links to an $83 listing, but give or take a few bucks here or there. Not a big deal. The only real difference, as far as I'm aware, between these two chips, right, the 10100 and the 10105, is that the 10105, I think, ships with a black stock cooler. It looks a little prettier. Not sure about cooling performance. I haven't actually tested that CPU. But I do know that this chip is considerably cheaper than the one that she listed, and so that could open up the room for beefier cards, like, again, the 1650 that we got here, which is a better card than the 750 Ti. For RAM, let's see, we've got 56 bucks here. This, I'm assuming, it's 3000 megahertz. Is it 16 gigs or 8? Because if it's 16, yep, 16 gigs. All right, we're sitting a lot prettier here, folks. 56 bucks, and Castlade 16. It's a pretty good kit. Now, for the case, this person went with a Cooler Master Masterbox C300L. I know this case very well. I've built in it several times for 50 bucks, brand new on Amazon. It's not bad in this budget. It could be a bit cheaper, though. Next up, we have an Asus Prime H510M. I'm going to double check motherboard compatibility here just to make sure. Yes, sir, and it looks right here, LGA 1200 for 11th gen Intel Core processors and 10th gen Intel Core Pentium Gold and Celeron processors. Alrighty then. It's been a while since I've dabbled in budget Intel stuff, and to be honest, I just want to play it safe. Some folks are like, oh, you should already know that, that's your job, but I'm just doing my due diligence here, that's all. And you can see it is listed here, the one linked, for 75 bucks. Now, the storage drive listed, this is an interesting one, so a different philosophy here about storage and budget builds. This is a 240 or 250 gig SSD from PNY, and it's listed for $30, give or take. It's actually 24% off as of filming. And that, I think, is a really good bargain. See, the previous listing that we looked at, she spent nearly 100 bucks on storage. This person recommends only spending 30 bucks on storage. Granted, we have significantly less storage at our disposal now, but again, it's just different philosophies. Of course, you can always add more storage later. It's not difficult at all to do that, but this would make for a pretty sweet boot drive, and you could maybe squeeze a few games on here, and 30 bucks is a bargain. Again, opens up the doors for better performance in that rig. And last up here, a power supply, an EVGA 400 watt for 40 bucks, brand new on Amazon. I think buying new power supplies is smart. It's not required in budget builds, but it's a smart play if you can make it, work in the budget. And 40 bucks for an EVGA one like this, I mean, these are pretty reliable. I've used these quite a bit. The 400 watt, the 500 watt, the 450 watt, or the 430 watt, I forget. Most of these are 80 plus or 80 plus bronze at least. And the fact that it's new means it comes with a decent warranty as well. So this gives us a total for the entire build of $499.43. So obviously, again, doesn't include shipping or tax, but that's a pretty sweet build for 500 bucks in early mid 2022. I really can't complain much at all about this one. I think this is definitely a better build than the first one we looked at. I think the first build is fine, but it plays it safe and it does prioritize different things. If you want the best gaming performance you can squeeze out of a $500 budget, new or used parts, this one really takes the cake. Now it's time for the third listing. I wonder what we'll find. So let's see what we've got here. Again, the same $5 listing, $728 in total. Let's check out the requirements. First question, how much are you willing to pay? I said $500 without tax or shipping. Second question was, what is the specific use case? I said gaming. And then the third question, are there any specific requirements for this build, like RGB strips or fans, already purchased parts, sound cards, etc.? This is a good question. I'm glad it was asked, and I just said no specific requirements, just implying that I want kind of the best value, the best performing rig for the price. Now let's scroll down here and see, it was delivered 2 days after, well, give or take, it was like a day and a half after I placed my order. That's not bad. And he says, hello, here's your parts list. And then he included PC Part Picker, so that's cool. Always a fan of PC Part Picker. I think it makes their job easy, and it also helps me because I can just click on their links without them having to do all that manual work, right? And it's very clean on PCPP. So I like to keep it there, but of course not everyone knows about it or likes to use it, so I don't hold it against them. He says, I couldn't make it under $550 with tax plus shipping. eBay didn't have anything worth it, so I had to go with all new parts. Yeah, I kind of sort of call BS on that. I mean, the whole reason why I opened it up to eBay was because this budget I know is very restrictive. And I mean, it's kind of implied if you buy used stuff on sites like eBay, you get more value, right? Because the parts are used. Part of the warranty or all of the warranty is expired. The part might not be in the best condition, but it still works, so you save some money. But again, you're still getting the same performance as you would out of any new part, as long as that part is, listed correctly and does work. That's really the only risk with buying used. And then you usually have to wait a few more days for it to show up. It's not as quick usually as Amazon, overnight or 2-day shipping. But I wasn't telling these folks that they had to use eBay, but I opened it up because I felt like they would see the need to. And this person, it's almost like because he wanted to use PC Part Picker and he knows that it doesn't really work well with eBay, he's just like, screw that, it's too much work. I'm just going to stick with, Amazon Newegg, the easy ones that are built into PC Part Picker. And I don't like that. I mean, look, it didn't pay off, right? Because this person went over budget. I mean, that speaks for itself. But anyway, notice number 1, ignore the BIOS warning. Everything will be plug and play. And then he says, thank you for your patience. If you liked my gig, make sure to leave a review. I would be really grateful if you consider leaving a small tip, my YouTube channel. And then he links his channel. Apparently this person has a YouTube channel. Okie doke. So let's check out the PC Part Picker link, shall we? Anyway, we've got a Ryzen 7 5700G. So we're going with an APU here. The other two gave me discrete cards. You give me an APU. And the 5700G is a fine APU, but it still doesn't, I mean, especially when seen in the context of the second listing, right? A 1650 will just, it'll wipe the floor with a 5700G. So you've already kind of, it kind of hurts. Now, the fact that we have Zen 3 cores baked into this does make up for that to some extent, but for a gaming system, it's really difficult to just omit a discrete card altogether. Even if it's a generation or two old. So $284 all in for that. We've got another $60 here for this motherboard, which I'm going to do a bit more research on a bit later in this video, so stick around for that. 16 gigs of DDR4 at 3200 megahertz. I mean, at least we have, modestly fast memory. And 2 sticks for dual channel, which helps a lot with these APUs. 500 gig M.2 for $50. A Thermaltake Versa H18 for a little over $50, and then a Corsair CV450 for $40. So that puts us at $546.93, which is pretty, I mean, that's a decent chunk of change over budget. Like if I had a tight $500 limit, give or take some tax and some shipping, I mean, that other $50, and then on top of that, any other shipping I might have to deal with if I don't have Amazon Prime, or, I don't want to wait too long for Newegg shipping, that's 10% plus over budget. So definitely not a good start. I think the part that annoys me the most is just this chunk here, this sentence, paragraph, whatever this is. eBay didn't have anything worth it, so I had to go with all new parts. We know that's not true. The previous listing included a discrete card that really knocks the socks off of the IGP baked into the 5700G. So stuff was out there. You just didn't want to take the time to do the extra research is what I think it was. And you didn't want to have to kind of squeeze that into PC Part Picker because it's difficult to, extra steps to get the manual links and the manual prices in there. So I don't know. I mean, if this wasn't a part of your package, if you didn't want to offer, builds that involve used components, say that in your listing up front, right? So that I know what I'm dealing with, because otherwise, you've just put me at a huge disadvantage here, especially if you're the only person that I'm paying $5 for the service. But I opened it up for that because I knew that you would probably need it, and the fact that you turned it down and essentially recommended a build that, while it is newer and in some respects is better, at the CPU side of the 5700G is really great. It's the best of all three recommended. The graphics side of it is not so good. And this being a gaming PC, and I told you I wanted a gaming PC specifically, I feel like you stunted my growth a little bit there. So I have to point that out. So with all that said, I think C. Belotti's, the second listing, is the best here. We get that GTX 1650 4 gig graphics card for $173. We still get a decent Core i3, couple gens old, but it's a decent price here used on Amazon. We still get 16 gigs of moderately fast DDR4, and slight compromise here on the storage, but I don't really disagree with this in an ultra budget rig. And then a 400-watt power supply, which is plenty for this combination of hardware. I think it's the most balanced of the three. Then again, I'm sure there are a few of you who disagree with me, and I'd like you to open up discussions, if you can, in the comment section below. I think the dialogue is very healthy, especially for first-time PC builders. So thanks so much for watching this far into this video. If you guys enjoyed this one, give it a thumbs up. That would be greatly appreciated. Again, leave your feedback in the comment section below, and let me know what other budget, price range you'd like us to kind of just run these tests with on Fiverr. I think that it's just interesting to see what other people recommend, right, in given price ranges, and it can open the doors for folks who might be watching these videos for the first time thinking, oh, that's actually not a bad deal. I didn't consider that component. Maybe I'll buy that for my next budget builder or what have you. That's kind of why I wanted to make these videos in the first place, and for the most part, you guys seem to enjoy them, so maybe we'll keep this up for a few more episodes. So not bad for Verona. I think this was a decent start, not the best recommendation of hardware in my personal opinion, just given what I was expecting in this price range, but it was a healthy start, I will say. As for Belotti, I think you killed it. Best combination of hardware so far. And as for Jason, I do feel just a tad let down. I feel like you could have really done the due diligence on eBay, and I don't think that was done. I know you kind of implied that it was done, like we said that you didn't see anything, worth it, so you had to go with all new parts, but I don't think you actually took too much time on eBay, because if you had, you would have found some decent deals. So again, that's all for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. My name is Greg. Thanks for learning with me.